So I've had this question in the back of my mind ever since the launch of Chapter 6 and the fall of players after the remix season. It's safe to say that every November for the past 2 years has been the best months out of Fortnite's year. And that's for an obvious and good reason. The maps that they bring back are only in the game for a month, and just recently we received a brand new map for the Simpsons season. However, the recent release of the Simpsons season wasn't as big of a boom as Chapter 2 Remix or Season OG. Obviously, the Simpsons season map isn't a nostalgic map within Fortnite, so that may lead to a decrease in interest. However, since last year and the fall of Fortnite's player count after every single mini season, this brings up the true question: will mini seasons fail Fortnite in the long run? Let's dive deep into the player count, interest in each seasons, and predict just how good or bad the Simpsons season will affect Chapter 7. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Yo, what is going on, guys? If you're new here, my name is Tricky. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, make sure to sub to the channel and to use code TRICKYS, TRICKYS, in the Fortnite item shop. So let's get to one of the biggest questions first, and one of the most notable. Does player count even matter within Fortnite? Well, yes and no. Obviously, the player count needs to be higher so that Epic Games makes more sales. However, I think that retention is the best thing within Fortnite. Yes, the Chapter 2 Remix season was crazy. They had 14 million players during the live event, and that was basically because there was a ton of artists, including Juice WRLD, that were in the concert. However, Fortnite didn't retain a ton of those players into Chapter 6. Actually, from October 2024 till October 2025, they technically lost double their player count. Fortnite was sitting at roughly a good 3 million players, and at the end of Chapter 6, they were sitting roughly at 1.5 million, and some days they were not even hitting a million players. So the biggest thing for the Simpsons season is if they can keep the retention of the players that they've already brought back and lead them into Chapter 7, that would be more successful than having a month-long season where you have a ton of players, but they leave whenever Chapter 7 hits. That's just not good for the long term of Fortnite. And staying on topic of the retention, some may feel like that mini-season content is just consumed way too quickly. And there was really no reason to stay, for me at least, throughout Chapter 6 because I didn't personally like the map. The good thing is that Epic started to diversify and also brought back Fortnite OG as a permanent mode, so if you didn't like the Chapter 6 mode, you didn't have to stay on it. But again, a lot of people don't want to play Fortnite OG because, number one, they might have already played it and there's nothing really to look forward to in the storyline, and also they might just want something new. Yes, the biggest reason why I didn't play Chapter 6 and why a lot of people may not have as well is we went from crazy content in Chapter 2 Remix, and then when we transitioned on to Chapter 6, it felt really stale. The Winterfest was really good, I'll give them that. However, the map didn't seem to have a ton of changes, and also there was just something about it with the layout that I personally didn't enjoy and didn't want to grind. Also, the biggest thing with mini seasons is that a lot of things are really strong in the game mode, however, they lack a lot in other aspects. Like one instance is the map is really good, however, the loot pool semi-lacks. Yes, we do have a lot of Simpsons themed guns in the Fortnite Simpsons season, however, the loot pool is just not the greatest. The map is great, the mechanics are great, I love the entirety of the Fortnite Simpsons season. However, just to name a few guns, the Thunder Shotgun and the Striker AR, those are really the only two weapons you will use. The infantry rifle is pretty good as well, but it felt like with the main loot pool, they kind of just threw weapons together instead of really testing out the loot pool first. But this is one thing about not only Fortnite as a whole, but the entirety of gaming, is that everything is becoming shorter and shorter. If you notice, Fortnite has gone into faster gameplay. First, you know, we had Fortnite Battle Royale, and then they transitioned into Fortnite Reload, and then we started to get the introduction of mini seasons every single November, and now we also have Blitz. It's becoming shorter and shorter content, and that really does destroy the retention of a ton of people. And if you don't keep constantly pushing out content, it is going to get stale. And I would love to do a video on this, but yes, in my opinion, I feel like TikTok, YouTube Shorts, a lot of short form content is decreasing people's attention spans, and that might be one of the reasons why a lot of people don't want to sit through a 30-minute battle royale game and instead go and play Reload. I like the idea that they didn't go back to Chapter 3. I think number one, it was way too soon, but number two, Chapter 3 really isn't that nostalgic for a lot of people. Yes, you might sit here and say, well, chapter 3 is nostalgic for me. Well, chapter 5 wasn't as big as chapter 2 nor chapter 1, so it will not bring back as many players like The Simpsons did. The biggest thing that Epic Games needs to focus on is creating really good content for chapter 7, because it feels like Epic Games is relying on nostalgia at this moment. And many may say, well, The Simpsons isn't nostalgic. It is for a lot of people that used to watch the show whenever they were growing up. A lot of people that are maybe 25, 30, maybe even a little bit older that are just coming back to Fortnite again because of The Simpsons probably watched it when they were kids. And using nostalgia will work in the short term, but there is not going to be a long-term reason to stay if they don't do something big for chapter 7. And if you don't know, chapter 7 is looking really promising, and they need to make chapter 7 better than the Simpsons season, because if they do, a lot of people will stay. If you don't know, they are doing like a Hollywood theme, also a Nevada theme with Area 51, a casino POI, which I cannot wait for. But it's smart. Epic Games is trying to keep their battle royale audience the same as it was by tending more to their older players, because come on, a casino POI? I think anyone that is older than 17, 18 thinks that is a really cool addition. One of the most important things that I want to go over, though, is the hype cycle. It is so much shorter. Players will really stop caring about Battle Royale, and they will want constant content no matter what whenever Chapter 7 comes out, especially if it's not good. So after looking at the player count graph as well, I have noticed something that is perpetual every single year since we have gotten mini seasons. Obviously, we have a huge spike every single mini season, and then slowly and gradually the player count drops. Season OG, we had the highest concurrent players out of the entire month, and then after, it was holding around 4 to 5 million players, then slowly dropped all the way down to 2 million. Then it spiked again in November once we got the release of Chapter 2 Remix, and then it slowly started to go back down from 3 million players down to around 1.5 million in October. So I think the answer for mini seasons failing are no, they are not failing Fortnite. The biggest thing that is failing Fortnite are the chapters before or after the mini season. If the chapters aren't good, then why would people even play the mini season after if they didn't enjoy the chapter before? And obviously, Chapter 6 was probably the least enjoyed chapter out of them all, except for Chapter 4, because the player count doesn't lie. It is proven that the interest is so much less for Chapter 6 than any other chapter in a while. So my closing thoughts are Epic Games needs to make sure that Chapter 7 is filled with content, and that they market it in a way that brings a ton of more players back even after the Simpsons season, so that whatever they do for the mini season in November, whether it's another remix style season, a throwback of nostalgia, more people will come back. Anyways, guys, let me know if I missed anything down in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts as well. Do you think mini seasons are failing Fortnite? I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below, and also give me some of your opinions in my Discord, which is also in the description below. And if you missed Fortnite's first mini season in 2023, make sure to click this video on the bottom left where we deep dive why Fortnite actually felt perfect again in 2023. Anyways, guys, it's been your boy Tricky, and I'm out. Peace.